How's it going, everybody? JT here, coming at you with another episode of Pokemon Go, and today I wanted to try something a little different. You see, I've had a few people ask me, should I use my Super Rocket Radar to get a Shadow Articuno? And to be honest with you, the answer is just a plain no, but I would like to explain exactly why you don't want to waste that Super Rocket Radar on something that you're really not going to use hardly ever. Let's begin by going over Articuno's stats. It has an attack of 192, it has a defense of 236, and it has a stamina of 207, making it a very defensive Pokemon, not something you really want to throw into raids, and also, its DPS is really not that good at all. You see, it has Frost Breath and Blizzard as its best ice moveset, and it only has a DPS of 11.52, which is really bad comparatively to a lot of other ice types we have in this game. Also, for those of you that don't know, DPS stands for damage per second. But now let's apply the Shadow bonus to our Articuno here, which now means it'll do 20% more damage, but it'll also take 20% more damage every time it gets hit. So, you know, it hits harder, but it's a little bit more glassy now. And unfortunately, it really doesn't help out Articuno in this instance because it's more of a defensive Pokemon. It's just not so great. Its best moveset now becomes Frost Breath and then Ice Beam, and its DPS is 13.86, which is better than normal Articuno's DPS, but still very bad comparatively to a lot of ice types we have in this game. In fact, I've made a small list here of better Ice-type Pokemon than Shadow Articuno, and these are Ice-type Pokemon that have pure Ice movesets, just for comparison. So let's begin with Shadow Mamoswine, the new king of Ice types in Pokemon Go. If you see a Team Go Rocket Grunt that has a Shadow Swinub, do it and hope for some really good IVs, because this thing is disgusting. With Powder Snow and Avalanche, it has a DPS of 19.5. which is huge. Next up, we have Shadow Weavile with Ice Shard and Avalanche that has an 18.6 DPS. And then we have Galarian Darmanitan with Ice Fang and Avalanche, 17.4. It's a bit of a glassy Pokemon, but it does a lot of ice damage. And then we have normal Mamoswine, you know, but not even with the Shadow bonus, and it has Powder Snow and Avalanche, and it's got a 16 DPS. It's really good. Even Jinx beats it with Frost Breath and I believe Avalanche. It only has like a 14.8 DPS. It's better than Shadow Articuno. And in fact, people use Jinx in raids like say for Rayquaza and stuff like that as well. So there's a lot of ice types that I didn't even mention in this list that are better than Shadow Articuno, specifically for raids and PvE. But that's all PvE. What about PvP? Is Shadow Articuno surprisingly good there? And the answer is kinda, not really. In Great League, Articuno doesn't really have any play whatsoever. It's mostly only used in Ultra League, and rarely in Master League. And since it's more of a defensive Pokemon, you can see why people like to use it in PvP, because it can take more hits and do a lot of damage. You see, the moveset you want on this thing would be Frost Breath and Icy Wind. That's the best moveset for PvP, because you're doing some good damage, and also with every Icy Wind, you're lowering their attack. It's a guarantee, which is great, because that could be what causes you to either win or lose. It depends on the amount of damage they're doing to you. But with the Shadow bonus, those Icy Winds are doing more damage, but you're taking more damage, which could be very bad in these situations, because now your tanky bird could have thrown out maybe 3 or 4 Icy Winds, but maybe is struggling to even get 3 of them out, depending on the Pokemon it's fighting. So, in the end of the day, it's a bit of a coin toss. Some people like to use it, but most people prefer to use just a normal Articuno for Ultra League. That's why, personally, I really wouldn't recommend you going out and trying to get a Shadow Articuno, though a few exceptions to this would be, maybe you really want to complete the Shadow set, and you don't have that one. Perfectly acceptable. Maybe Articuno is your favorite bird. Perfectly fine, but if none of those apply to you, hold on to your Super Rocket Radar, because you can stack them. That's right, you heard me correctly. You can actually stack these Super Rocket Radars, but there is a bit of a limit to it, but we'll get into that in a second. You see, say you really don't want this Shadow Articuno, and you're really tired of seeing Giovanni or the decoys, or maybe Giovanni's coming in on the balloons. Well, all you gotta do is go into your bag, find the Super Rocket Radar, and then unequip it. It doesn't get rid of it. It stays in your, like, item stack, but it's not going to be usable until you choose to activate it again. So you don't have to worry about your balloons constantly bringing in Giovanni and you having to ignore it instead of possibly getting a team leader or a grunt that you would like. And also, this special research here isn't a limited timed one. You see, you can complete this whenever you want. Say you just don't have the time to complete it, or you really don't want the Shadow Legendary that's part of this month, just hold off until the next month. So, since Articuno is March's Shadow Legendary, How about you really just want to get more Shadow Zapdoses, which is April's Shadow Legendary. You wait until April, you turn on your Super Rocket Radar, you fight Giovanni, and make sure that his final Pokemon is the Zapdos, because 99% of the time, the final Pokemon that you fight with Giovanni is what you're going to be catching. And then now, you'll have that Shadow Zapdos. You will have completed March's special research, but then you can get April's right away, which is wonderful. But the downside to this is you can only stack it so far. You see, what if instead I decide I really don't want Zapdos either? I want to go for Moltres. Surely I can get 3 of them. Well, unfortunately not. That is not how that will work. You see, Pokemon Go only allows you to have one of these special researches activated at a time. So, since you didn't complete March's and you skipped all of April's, when you get to May, you're just gonna get May's. You don't get April afterwards. So, in the end of the day, you're gonna have to occasionally choose something you might not want. So, say for right now, I don't want Shadow Articuno, but I wouldn't mind a Shadow Zapdos. I complete March's special research in April, but then when I get April's, I ended all the way to the point where I have to fight Giovanni again, but then I stop yet again and wait until May, so I can get another Shadow Moltres. And since Shadow Moltres is really good, well, I want to get 2 of those, and I can complete 2 of them in that month and get 2 Shadow Moltreses instead. Now that we're done explaining that, let's go over the other 2 birds real quickly and see which one you'd rather have 2 more of, starting with Shadow Zapdos here. It's a very solid electric type. In fact, it is the 3rd or 4th best electric type in the game, period, with the Shadow bonus. And let's just go over it real quick. It's got Thunder Shock and Thunderbolt as its best moves, and it has a DPS of 19, which is pretty solid. Really good, in fact. The only things that really beat it are Shadow Electivire with Thunder Shock and Wild Charge that has a DPS of 20.27, which is pretty good. It's the best one in the game. It does not even get beaten by any Megas or anything. Next up, then, we have Shadow Raikou with Thunder Shock and Wild Charge, and that is at 19.5 DPS. So, yeah, pretty good. There's a bit of a debate between Shadow Magnezone and Zapdos, which one's better. The DPS says that Zapdos is better, but some people argue as to Magnezone. It might be because of its stats, who knows, but yeah. Shadow Zapdos is pretty solid, so if you really wanted 2 of them for, I don't know, some sort of like challenges out there for raids or something like that, could be worth it. But for me personally, I am definitely going with 2 Shadow Moltreses, because Shadow Moltres is insane. And I'm not just biased because I'm Team Valor, no. This thing is really good. It is the 3rd best Fire-type DPSer in the game. If it has Fire Spin and Overheat, its DPS with the Shadow bonus is 19.53. Which is really, really good. The only things that beat it are Mega Blaziken with Fire Spin and Blast Burn, which we can't even get right now, but it has a DPS of 22.72, which is pretty up there. And then Mega Charizard Y with Fire Spin and Blast Burn at 21.76. So, yeah, those are better, but you can only have one of them. It's not like you gotta have a whole team of Mega Charizards and a whole team of Mega Blazikens. You have to choose one, and then Shadow Moltres is the next best thing after that, and you can have multiples of those. And not only is it the 3rd best Fire-type DPSer in the game, it's the 2nd best Flying-type DPSer in the game. With Wing Attack and Sky Attack, it has a DPS of 20.56, which is really good, and the only thing that beats it with a pure Flying-type moveset is Mega Rayquaza with Air Slash and Hurricane that comes up to 21 DPS. But you can only have one of those. So again, why not have a lot of these Moltreses with both Overheat and Sky Attack, and then you can just quickly switch out the fast move. It just seems like a no-brainer to me personally, but it's really up to you in the end of the day what you want to go with. Now, it might already be too late for some of you. Some of you may have already gotten your Shadow Articunos, but now you have this little trick in your minds which you can apply for the future. Like, again, you don't want Shadow Zapdos? You can get 2 Shadow Moltreses. And also, you can apply the same thing to the legendary beasts when they roll around. I mean, the birds are coming back, surely the beasts are gonna come back too. So, let's go over those real quickly. I'm not gonna go too much into the DPS with these ones, but starting off with Shadow Suicune, awful. Really bad. Worse than Articuno. I hate to say it, but like, people used to call Suicune the poor man's Vaporeon, and it's true. It's really not that good at all, and I'm really sorry to say it because I have a 100% Shadow one. I love it to death, but it's just not worth it. Entei, really good, but not as good as Shadow Moltres. As we already went over it, it's way better than Shadow Entei, but Shadow Entei is the 5th best DPSer for fire types underneath Shadow Charizard with Fire Spin and Blast Burn. And then there's the king, Shadow Raikou. We already went over its stats. It's literally only beaten by Shadow Electivire by a little bit. So honestly, if you can get 2 Shadow Raikous, get 2 Shadow Raikus. And lastly, definitely use this trick if we ever get advanced warning for Shadow Mewtwo. Shadow Mewtwo is the most powerful thing in this game except for Mega Mewtwo X and Y, which you again can only have one of, and preferably you want to go with Mega Mewtwo Y. It's way more powerful than X, but still though. Shadow Mewtwo as a 0/0/0 is more powerful than a 100% purified or just normal Mewtwo that isn't Mega Evolved. So you definitely want to get a ton of those things. The DPS is insane on them, so if you can do it, definitely do. And that's all I really have to say in this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I haven't made a video like this in a very, very long time, so if you did, please let me know in the comments down below if you want me to do more of these things, because this was fun to make. And with all that being said, this is the end of the video, and if you've enjoyed it, and I really hope you have, please smash that like button for me, show me some love, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell icon so you know when I upload, and comment down below which of the shadow birds are you going to try to get multiples of, or are you going to try to get multiple of the beasts? Please let me know in the comments down below. And if you really enjoy my content and you want to help the channel grow even more, there's a link to my Patreon in the description box below. But with that being said, this is the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.